So my name is Sarah Martinez, and this is my SciOp resource folder. This folder is actually really helpful when planning lessons, and we'll get into that in just a minute. It helps especially ELL students. Once again, my name is Sarah Martinez, and here's my title page. I actually decided to change the ladybug to an owl because I like owls. So let's get started. Under lesson preparation, you will notice content and language objectives are clearly defined, displayed, and reviewed with students. That's a given. Content concepts are appropriate for age and educational background of levels of students. Supplemental materials are used to a high degree, making the lesson clear and meaningful. And the fact that the lessons are meaningful is the most important aspect of a lesson. Adaptations of content to all levels of student proficiency. So you should be adapting your content to the different levels of the student's abilities. Meaningful activities that integrate lesson concepts. So here is my how to start an objective. Your objective should be student friendly, and it's just giving some ideas for how to do that. On this, you will see tips for language objectives and tips for content objectives. And here you will notice presenting objectives to the class. So over here you can see content objective verbs and language objective verbs. So some content objective verbs are identify, solve, investigate, distinguish, create, select, draw conclusions, and some language objective verbs are listening, retelling, defining, finding the main idea, and there are just a few others. So related to literature, demonstrations, hands-on, pictures and visuals, and multimedia. The objectives are aligned with state standards. The objectives are observable and measurable. The objectives are written in terms that student learning. The language objective promotes student academic language growth, and the language objective connects clearly with the lesson topic. So over here on page 2 under building background knowledge, you'll notice 3 main things. Concepts explicitly linked to students' background experiences. Links explicitly made between past learning and new concepts, and key vocabulary emphasized, introduced, written, and repeated. So here you'll notice the little bridge. I love this bridge. I think it's amazing because you have students' background prior knowledge, so it's linking that and getting them to the new content and language concepts that they're going to be learning. So under making grammatical connections you can use graphic organizers, word banks, class notes, charts, and so on and so forth. So here are some sentence stems that I think are amazing for activating prior knowledge questions. So let's look at some of these. What does this make you think of? How is this something you've done before? Who remembers? And this is just really awesome question stems. So question stems for connecting to new content. What do these two have blank and have in common? What does blank remind you of? How is blank and blank related? And these are just really helpful to get you started so that you can help these students in the best way possible. Under academic vocabulary, so 1, be active in developing understanding words and ways to learn. This will tie in with this. A lot of this ties in together, of course. Personalized word learning, be immersed in words in rich language environments that focus on words and draw attention to learning of words. Build on multiple sources of information to learn words through repeated exposures. So for building vocabulary background, there are a few different things. I love word clouds. I've actually used word clouds quite often in the past. I think they're amazing. You can do word sorts, partner pretest, insert method, 4 corners. I've actually used 4 corners with my students before as well. They loved it. And definition maps. So over here on page 3, you will notice comprehensible input. Speech appropriate for students' proficiency levels. So you should speak at a slower rate, enunciate properly, and speak using simple sentence structures. You should always have clear explanations of academic tasks. If, because they're ELLs, a lot of times you need to be specific. You need to remember to enunciate and simplify your speech because they're learning a second language. So a variety of techniques used to make content concepts clear. You can use modeling, visuals, hands-on activities, and so on and so forth. I am a kinesthetic learner. Anytime that I can physically touch something, that makes it so much more meaningful to me. So remember to speak slower, which is mentioned up here, enunciate your words, simplify your text, and avoid idioms, model, repeat, and paraphrase. So here are some techniques to make content concepts clear, and it's just a little checklist. Gestures and body language, modeling process, preview the material. You should preview material as often as possible because it gives students an idea of, what you're going to be learning. And here we have sentence strips and audio tapes. On page 4, you will notice strategies. So, ample opportunities to provide students to use learning strategies. Scaffolding techniques constantly used assisting and supporting students' understanding. A variety of questions or tasks that promote higher order thinking. Literal, analytical, and interpretive questions. So some verbal scaffolding techniques are paraphrasing, think aloud, reinforce, pronunciation, slower speech, and repeat. Here's my ESL strategy packet. If I can include the link below, I will try and include the link below. But I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it in. So let's just go over it really quickly. My strategy was manipulatives, my content area was math, and it's just really interesting. I chose to use base 10 blocks, and I like them. I like using base 10 as often as I can because they're extremely helpful. So the next one that I chose was modeling talk, and it should be applied to all subjects. My example is actually done in ELA though. And here you will see my example. My graphic organizer and visual was a writing checklist. Let's continue going. On page 5, we have interactions. Frequently, opportunities for interactions, discussions between teacher, students, and student-student. Grouping configurations support language and content objectives of the lesson. Sufficient wait time for students' response constantly provided. I'm going to come over here really quick because my clock reminds me to make sure to include my wait time. Whatever you do, do not interrupt your students because it kind of shuts down the entire... They work up a lot of nerve to volunteer in class, and they deserve time for you to listen to them as well. And also, too, sometimes you need to give them additional time to process. And most importantly, you should always be patient. So under interactions, turn-taking, encourage collaboration or elaboration, balance student-teacher talk, and use writing for interaction. Under grouping, we have vary and balance groups, provide background knowledge, differentiate instruction, independent tasks, and engaging activities. So down here we have practice and application. Practice and application. You should provide hands-on materials and manipulatives for students as often as you can, so that they can practice the new content and knowledge. Activities provide for students to apply content and language knowledge in the classroom. So these activities should, be beneficial for the class. You shouldn't be randomly doing an activity that's not going to benefit what you're trying to teach the student. It should always tie back into the objective. So I like my little hands down here. My hands show me that manipulatives and movement, hands-on games, electronic games, reader theater and role play, character diaries, and foldables and flip charts. I like flip charts a lot. Activities integrate all language skills, so reading, writing, listening, and speaking. On page 6, you'll notice lesson delivery. So, under lesson delivery, your content objectives clearly supported by the lesson delivery. Your language objectives are clearly supported by your lesson delivery. Students engage approximately 90 to 100% of the period. The pacing of the lesson is appropriate to students' ability levels. So, here you will see review the objective, make sure that it's student-friendly, and it's displayed. All objectives should be observable and measurable. And you'll notice the little clocks over here, they say academic learning, tested material, engage time, active participation, allocate time, subjects, and skills. So ideas for lesson delivery: think, pair, share, chunk and chew. I actually like this activity. Pause every 10 minutes of input to give students time to talk with their peers. I think this is a wonderful thing to do because it's helping them process the information in a different way. By giving them the opportunity to talk to one another, they're being able to put it in their own words. So, roam and review. Pose a reflection question and think, stand around the room, stand and roam the class and discuss. Write headlines, and that was the last one. So, review and assessment. Comprehensive review of key vocabulary. Comprehensive review of key content concepts. Regular feedback provided to students on their output, language, content, and work. You should constantly be giving students feedback on the things that they did well, and so that they know to continue doing those things. You should also be giving them feedback on the things that they didn't necessarily do properly or didn't do well on, so that they can improve on it. That's the only way that learning is going to be beneficial. So, assessment of student comprehension and learning of all lesson objectives. Down here you'll notice there are two different types of assessments. We have informal and formal. So, under informal, you can do observations, conversations, quick writes, brainstorm. I like brainstorming a lot. Role play, retelling, handheld devices, journals, non-print review, number wheels, response boards, sticky notes, and rubrics. Under creative formal assessments, you have create a poster, make a PowerPoint presentation. Students really love working with their Chromebooks and any type of technology. So anytime you can integrate technology into it, that's wonderful. Design and model, make a shoebox, perform a puppet show. Another thing that I've noticed the students that I've been working with really like is to write and perform skits. So on page 7, you will notice my English language proficiency standards, which is the ELPS. Here we have learning strategies, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and so on and so forth. Over here, you will notice my ELPS and TELPAS proficiency level deciphers. And I've just broken it up. So, capacity building series, this is another tool for asking effective questionings. I read through this and it was very interesting. So if you know, it's wonderful to have. Awesome tool for our SciOp folder. Our ELL starter kit for educators and tools for monitoring language skills. I thought this was one of the best things that I've come across because there's actually little things that you can assess the children with, and it helps you keep track of their skills and their progression. And so there are also common classroom phrases, and that is actually the end of my SciOp folder. Thank you very much.